Good afternoon, everybody. We'll give it 20 seconds if you need to do your audio check. You might have done that before we arrived. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, thank you all for being here today. We also want to thank uh, Attorney General Rob Bonta for joining us, for his leadership and for his friendship. And I want to thank all of our regional and local partners, including and especially members of the United States Coast Guard for hosting us today and for all their work in protecting communities from the worst impacts of this disaster. Let me begin my remarks by making one thing abundantly clear. It is so unacceptable that so many Californians are once again facing the devastating effects of an offshore oil spill. We just completed a flyover of the area where thousands upon thousands of gallons of oil spilled and created an oil slick that has already seeped into environmentally sensitive wetlands. It's endangering birds and other wildlife, forcing the closure of beaches, and not only impact communities and outdoor recreation, but devastating local economies of entire communities. These beaches, I might add, have also been a much needed safe haven during the COVID-19 pandemic for so many families. So again, I'm thankful for the U.S. Coast Guard and the many volunteers who have stepped up to protect precious, sensitive wetland habitats from true environmental catastrophe. But it is an outrage that Congress has failed to prevent this damaging oil spill. The trade-off between oil production and environmental harm is simply not one that we should be making any longer. My colleague, Senator Feinstein, and I are working hard in Congress to bring this region the much needed relief that it deserves and to prevent the needless tragedy of future oil spills. We've called on Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to conduct a full and transparent investigation of this spill, including the repeated safety violations of Amplify Energy and Beta Offshore. And we'll continue to do everything we can to ensure that Orange County receives the assistance that it needs. Senator Feinstein and I are also calling on Congress to include our West Coast Ocean Protection Act as we are finalizing the negotiations of the upcoming budget reconciliation bill. While the West Coast Ocean Protection Act is a standalone bill, we think it makes perfect sense to include it in this budget reconciliation part two of the infrastructure package, if you will, that we are just weeks away from voting on. This act will ban new oil and gas drilling off the coasts of California, Oregon, and Washington, and most importantly, can prevent another needless environmental disaster. We know that Californians oppose offshore oil drilling. It's been banned in state waters, and it's past time that we ban it in federal waters. Because even when oil pipelines aren't leaking, oil is continuing to fuel the global warming crisis, poisoning local communities and causing billions of dollars of harm each and every year. Fossil fuels are endangering California families in the form of raging wildfires and extreme droughts, and now in the form of another toxic oil spill. So the message is clear. We must end our reliance on dirty and dangerous fossil fuels and work towards a clean energy future. I want to take a moment to thank again the Coast Guard for their tremendous work and for hosting us here today. Before we open up to questions, let me turn the podium over to the Attorney General for the state of California, Rob Bonta.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General, and honored to be with you here in this space. I want to first thank Senator Alex Padilla for his leadership, his friendship, his partnership over the many years, and thankful for the opportunity to spend time with him today, getting briefed and doing the flyover to learn more about the devastating oil spill today. I also want to acknowledge and thank for their leadership Senator David Min, my recently former colleague in the California State Legislature who is here, and Mayor Kim Carr as well for hers. This has truly been a time of coming together, working together, knowing that we need all of us in this fight, in this effort to make sure that we are implementing the most effective mitigation efforts, cleanup efforts, moving forward with the immediate response, and then getting down to the full investigation regarding what happened, and how we can prevent it in the future. So I also want to thank approximately 1,600 folks who are out on the shoreline cleaning up the spill. Just an incredible number, incredible effort on the ground, hands-on, manual cleanup through the up and down the miles of beaches. And I want to thank all of our local and state and federal partners who are working around the clock to protect the health and safety of Californians, with the health and safety of Californians top of mind, and also to mitigate the damage to our environment and our natural resources. So, in times of crisis, it often brings out the best in our leaders and in our people. And I think this is an example of that, for us coming together, working side by side to address a horrific tragedy. And what I learned in today's briefing and what I saw with Senator Padilla from the air was generally good news, that cleanup efforts are going well. But that doesn't, and by the way, today, because of around-the-clock work, Huntington Beach is reopening. So we're making progress, we're seeing positive signs, but that doesn't negate the horrific, lasting impact of this disaster. A disaster that we know has far-reaching consequences on our fish, on our wildlife, for our communities, and for our economy. Wetlands and beaches are contaminated with clumps of black tar called tar balls. Fish are dead, floating in the water. Birds and hatchlings covered in a thick layer of petroleum. The toll on our wildlife and environment is absolutely devastating. And so is the human impact. Small businesses near the shoreline, restaurants, ice cream shops, surf shops, and commercial fishermen rely on California's pristine waters and beaches for their livelihoods. As Attorney General, I have activated the Department of Justice's considerable resources to help get to the bottom of this and to offer help in any way we can. We are focused on the immediate response to the spill, but we also wanted to know how this happened, who knew, and when. That's why today I'm announcing that the California Department of Justice is investigating the oil spill off the coast of Huntington Beach. Our investigation will determine the facts and who is ultimately responsible. If our laws were violated, we will hold those responsible accountable. My office is committed to devoting the people and the resources necessary to ensure this environmental disaster is fully investigated, and we will follow the facts wherever they lead. We are working in coordination with federal, state, and local authorities to determine the cause of the spill and what, if anything, could have been done to prevent or minimize this disaster. No matter where our investigation takes us, we all know where California's future leads. It takes tens of millions of years for oil to form underneath the Earth's surface, and at its very essence, oil is the past, not our future. That's why California has not approved a new offshore drilling lease for over 50 years. That's why we are the first state in the nation to say we are not going to sell gas-guzzling vehicles by 2035, and why we have 5 times more clean energy jobs than fossil fuel jobs. Drilling is about the past. As we work to transition to a clean, healthy, and green future, I will not waver when it comes to protecting our people, our environment, and our natural resources, including our 840 miles of sacred coastline. From sandy beaches to rocky cliffs, our coastline is our jewel. It is sacred, and at the California Department of Justice, we will always protect it, including through investigations like the one we are announcing today. So let me just say thank you once again to all of our partners who have leaned into this effort to get us to where we are today. We're not finished yet, but we are making progress, and that's worth noting. Senator Padilla and I are happy to take your questions. Please state your name and the outlet that you represent. Thank you. Well, we don't want to get too far ahead of our investigation. We want to take our time with it, make sure it's thorough, that it's complete, that we turn over all the stones, and that we have the full set of facts. Certainly, there's been things that have been shared through our news outlets. I appreciate our journalists doing their job, and so that will be part of our ongoing investigation. But right now, we are doing an investigation. We are determining whether criminal or civil enforcement will be necessary. We don't know yet. But we will go wherever the facts lead us. We will apply the applicable law, and if there is a violation of the law, we will hold folks accountable. We are going to be doing a complete investigation, including looking back in time potentially, looking at the full spectrum of circumstances leading to this event. We are mostly focused on the acts that led to the spill, and that led to the damage that occurred in this case. So mostly we'll be focused on the incident and the lead up and ramp up to the actual incident. But of course, we will be doing a full and thorough investigation. Historical acts could be a part of the context. But again, we are putting our resources into the investigation. We are not getting ahead of the investigation. As with any investigation, we enter it with an open mind, not with a predetermination or predisposition about where it will lead. It will lead where the facts tell us it will lead. And we'll apply the law to those facts and go wherever that leads us. Hi. I've heard some preliminary numbers, but again, I don't want to get far ahead, and I don't want to speculate. It's important that we do the investigation right. I don't want to put figures out into the news cycle that aren't accurate, that aren't thorough, that aren't thoughtful, that don't have the appropriate foundation factually. So I don't have an answer for you now, but that it will be an area that we'll investigate and get an accurate number on at the appropriate time. Hi. So we're doing an investigation. We are determining whether civil or criminal enforcement action is appropriate. We don't know yet, and we will use the tools that we have to do a thorough, complete, accurate investigation. Those are tools. The tools you mentioned are tools that we have in our toolbox. Don't know whether we'll need to use them or not, but we're prepared to do what is necessary to get a full accounting of what happened, how it happened, who did what, when, and fully reveal the facts and circumstances of this incident. Well, the Department of Justice and the California Attorney General, I'm the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the state of California. We have civil authority, we have criminal authority to investigate cases, especially those involving harm to our state, our natural resources, our fish and wildlife, and our people. This potentially includes a variety of those types of harms, and so it is very important that we as the state of California and the Department of Justice be involved, be taking a leadership role, working with our partners. There are others involved in investigations as well, and we're committed to a collaborative, cooperative approach. But, we are the state of California's Department of Justice. I am the Attorney General for the state of California, the Chief Law Officer. When we get involved and when we use our tools, we hope that we will continue to do what we've always done, which is be accurate, be complete, be thorough, be objective, and most importantly, achieve accountability where necessary and realize justice.
Thank you. So the question, if you didn't hear it, was what we saw firsthand during the flyover. I mean, we started with a briefing at the Incident Command Center where they walked us through sort of the actions taken over the last almost a couple of weeks now. During the flyover, consistent with what was reported, it seemed, as the Attorney General mentioned, that the cleanup operations are making tremendous progress. Trust me, we looked, but did not see any big, patches of oil on the surface of the water in the areas that we covered. I mean, we literally took off from John Wayne Airport, came up through the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach area, and flew all the way down to the northern parts of San Diego County because that's been the areas where oil has been found, both offshore and on the coast. Now, all that being said, today's a critical day. I mean, you guys all feel the wind right now. We know that weather could very well turn up additional pockets of oil, whether it's in the water or coming onto the coast, and we just don't know. So just as the investigation will run its course based on the facts that are found, the cleanup operation will continue as long as it's necessary, as long as oil continues to be found, whether it's in the water or on the coastline. So the good news is plenty of resources, including personnel being assigned to the cleanup and the monitoring activity. But the progress looks good thus far, but we don't want to take anything for granted.
Senator Padilla, we were all at a briefing on Friday, and the Coast Guard let us know that it appears that this slice in the pipeline may be months old, up to a year old. What is your reaction to that?
So we learned the same. All the more reason to ensure that the investigations, plural, are allowed to run their course, and we get to the true root cause of what led to this. It's part of the effort to both hold responsible parties accountable, but also help inform what we need to do to ensure that this doesn't happen again. So applaud the Attorney General for leading the state investigation on this. We've called on the United States Department of Transportation to also conduct an investigation through their authority and jurisdiction. I know at the local level there's other inquiries happening, and all parties are collaborating nicely at this point. Yes. Well, again, I know current law. Let me repeat this. Offshore oil drilling is banned in state waters. So where we need to close the loophole is in federal waters. Many of us, myself included, have been calling for a ban on offshore oil drilling in federal waters for a long time now. This is just the most recent reminder of why it's necessary and why it's urgent. And we have a prime opportunity to accomplish exactly that through this budget reconciliation bill in the next couple of weeks. Bringing existing production activity to an end as soon as possible.
So the question is about the differences between a state and a federal investigation? Yeah. I mean, when you have an incident like this, depending on what the facts reveal, there's the possibility of multiple actions if they're justified by the facts and the law. There could be civil actions, including the civil actions that the state of California can take through its authority. And my authority is the California Attorney General. We represent our multiple agencies and departments in the state of California that have an interest, such as Parks and Rec, Fish and Wildlife, Coastal Commission is another one, state lands. And then we have independent authority for civil actions as well. And so those are all possibilities, again, depending on what the facts and the law, how they fit together. There's also the possibility of a state criminal investigation. There's also the possibility of a county criminal investigation here. I know DA Spitzer has been active and engaged. We're working together in communication, working collaboratively and cooperatively. And then, of course, there's federal law, federal criminal law, and the possibility of a federal criminal investigation that could lead to charges as well. So all that's to say there is overlapping jurisdictional components to this, and both civil and criminal possibilities for action that could be taken depending on the facts as we get them fully sussed out and as we apply the applicable law. Correct. We are investigating. We are determining whether civil enforcement is justified and appropriate, whether criminal enforcement is justified and supported by the facts. That's the California Department of Justice. The federal entities and county and local jurisdictions may be doing something similar as well.
Can you talk a little bit about the pipeline company's liability? To what extent are they responsible for this versus the company that dropped anchor on the pipeline? And how will you determine liability in this case? What is the burden of proof?
Well, it depends on what the facts are first and what the this is, who did what when, and we're still trying to determine what that is. So I want to go back to where I started, which is we are putting our resources, our skills and talent as a California Department of Justice, prioritization of on the investigation. We want to find out what all the facts are. We've heard things in the news. We're learning more, from our briefing today, from our flyover today. We'll continue to learn more in the days ahead, and that will tell us what the this is, meaning what the incident is that led to what happened, and then that will determine what the liability is. But we can't get to the liability and the burden of proof until we know what the facts are. Then we will apply the law. Then we will determine what that burden of proof is.
How long does that fact-finding process usually take?
I don't know that there's a certain timeline. We're doing this expeditiously. We're doing it with urgency and top priority. So, if there is something that went back in time, as has been reported in the press, it'll take time to track that down. We want to get all the different components of what happened over the last, in the ramp up last week to the incident occurring. So it's more important for us to get it right than to get it done fast. But we want to get it right and done fast, and we will work expeditiously to arrive there. I'll just give my best understanding, and then Senator Padilla can chime in as well. But we understood that there was a time a few days ago when the oil during flyovers on the water was visible. It was not visible to us today. That is a sign of improvement. That's a sign of progress in the right direction. We also know that those 1,600 people that are working manually on the ground, picking up tar balls, are continuing to do their work. Sometimes they don't have enough work to do because they've picked up all the tar balls and are addressing them appropriately, and there's no more to address. So we're seeing progress at every stage, and the reopening of the beach today, which is left to the local jurisdiction's determination of what is safe for the members of the public. That was done with us, the joint group, sharing as much information as possible so that the local jurisdiction can make a decision that they are comfortable with, that was sound as relates to the public safety of their community. So as those decisions are made, what I saw today was a very smooth joint effort of multiple jurisdictions sharing information, working towards a common goal, cooperating, collaborating. And so that information is being shared when local jurisdictions make their decisions about what is safest for their community.
Does your office have the power to keep that pipeline shut down as you investigate it and try and determine how this happened?
Well, it currently is shut down, as we know, and public safety and public health is tantamount. And my role as the Attorney General is to look out for the health, safety, and welfare of the people of California, its natural resource, and to the extent that there is a threat, whatever it may be, to natural resources, to our environment, to the people, I do believe I have the power to keep people safe and protect our natural resources.
So you're saying you do have the power to keep it shut down?
if it's endangering lives, health, and natural resources, I think that's what everybody wants. And I don't think you'll get a lot of disagreement on the fact that that should be happening. I think there's a broad consensus that that is the safest way to proceed at this time. Did you want to chime in at all?
I appreciate the question. The question was, are there, aside from banning offshore oil drilling, any other changes that would be called for that would help prevent or mitigate future events of this type? So this is still an active scenario. All right. One of the reasons why there's not a single clear number on how much oil was spilled. There's a best case scenario, worst case scenario that continues to narrow as more information is found. Once it is deemed that the leak is over and the cleanup is complete, there will be sort of an after action analysis by all parties, federal, state, and local agencies, that could very well lead to additional recommendations for new laws, new regulations, new requirements to be put in place to do exactly what you're asking, how we mitigate or prevent future incidents, in addition to banning future offshore oil drilling in California. Sí. Sí. Bueno, muchas gracias. Para nuestros colegas en español, estoy aquí con el fiscal general de California, Rob Bonta, para visitar en persona esta zona de la costa de California con, bueno, buena noticia de que hay habido mucho progreso en la limpieza del agua de la costa y estamos al punto de ver que las playas se están reabriendo, pero el evento no está finalizado. Siguen los esfuerzos de limpieza dado el cambio del clima hoy y en los días siguientes. Es posible que se encuentre más petróleo o en el agua o en la costa. Así es que el esfuerzo va a seguir, pero parece que los esfuerzos de limpiar el agua y la costa han logrado bastante progreso, pero para prevenir incidentes como este en el futuro, estamos llamando de nuevo a una prohibición de esta actividad en las aguas federales. Por décadas, la producción de petróleo en las aguas estatales han sido prohibido en California, pero lo que ocupamos es una prohibición federal. ¿Perdón? Sí, la senadora Feinstein y yo hemos presentado un nuevo proyecto de ley que logrará una prohibición en las aguas federales. Y tenemos, yo creo, una oportunidad de incluir esta medida en el proyecto de ley de reconciliación perdón. Tenemos una oportunidad de avanzar este proyecto de ley en el proceso de reconciliación presupuestaria en las semanas que vienen. Sería la acción más rápida posible, pero en mi opinión es más que urgente para poder proteger no solo esta comunidad, pero toda la costa de California, de Oregón y Washington también. He's asking me to speak on your behalf, unless you want to do it in Spanish.
Better if you do.
Just the basic, what charges could come about. So just repeat your stuff in Spanish. Bueno, hay investigaciones federales, estatales y locales. Los oficiales están colaborando. Los cargos, sean civiles o criminales, contra leyes que han sido violados, federales, estatales o locales, serán el producto de la investigación, pero la investigación ha comenzado. Última pregunta, last question, please.
Oh, he wants a one-on-one with you.
Okay. Yeah, ask.
Te había comentado que la compañía iba a estar involucrada. Te había comentado que la compañía iba a estar involucrada en el enfoque, o sea que no iba a participar así directamente en la investigación. ¿Qué tanta cooperación han recibido de la compañía? ¿Qué es lo que han dicho ellos? ¿Qué están dispuestos a hacer?
Has the owner of the pipeline been cooperating up until this point in the investigation?
Well, they're working in the command center. As
Say again?
pursuant to law, they're working in the command center. Remember when they were saying today that we're the, I forget what they call themselves, they're like the responsible party?
Mhm.
That was members of the corporation. So I think they have been working collaboratively so far. I think it's pursuant to law.
Sí. Bueno, los dueños de esta pipa están colaborando con el esfuerzo de limpieza y han asegurado que van a colaborar y participar con la investigación también.
Pero hay otra investigación independiente, ¿no? De ellos mismos.
Todos son independientes. Las investigaciones van a ser independientes de parte del gobierno federal, estatal y el gobierno local.
Rápidamente, no, ya terminaron. ¿Pueden ser aguas federales o estatales finalmente? Porque aquí vemos la plataforma.
La pregunta.
¿Aguas federales o estatales?
Bueno, sabemos que hay prohibición de la producción de petróleo en aguas estatales. Ha sido el caso por más de 50 años. Lo que ocupamos es una prohibición de producción de petróleo en aguas federales. Es mi proyecto de ley a nivel federal con la senadora Feinstein. Estamos buscando manera de avanzar ese proyecto de ley lo más pronto posible. Gracias.